That way people don't have to hang. Do you? Okay. All right, so Melissa, could you call to order the town council meeting?
All right. Mayor Mark Sukup.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rick Collins.
Here.
Councilmember Aaron Pearson.
Here.
Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Here.
Councilmember Brett Hansen.
Here.
Aaron, do we have any amendments to the agenda? But we actually do, because Matt, you're making an amendment to the IGA, right?
I have two items that are going to get swapped out when we get to those items. So we're not actually amending the agenda in total. We're just amending a couple of items.
Items in the
that.
agenda.
Yep.
Okay. Public comment. Is there anybody for public comment, Melissa? Okay. For a specific agenda item. All right, consent agenda. Approval of the minutes, first readings for ordinance number 1, series 2022. The first reading for ordinance 2, 2022. Resolution 72, series 2021, which is a resolution approving independent contractor agreement. Resolution number 73, series 2021, a resolution awarding Timnath median maintenance contract. And resolution number 74, a resolution approving the lease agreement with GM Municipal Finance. Does anybody have anything they want pulled or discussed? Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried unanimously. Reports. I'm going to do this real fast. First off, we apologize to everybody. We've had sort of a glitch on what to do and everything. So sorry to have given you who's on first and bouncing it around and stuff. And we appreciate your patience. We're sorry. The second thing is Callie here? She's not. We had a great Timnath tree lighting festival, and I think everybody had fun, and Callie did just a great job of it, and the town came out and did awesome job. So that was a lot of fun. And the just a plug in, Colorado Youth Outdoors is running their Christmas lighting. It's awesome. I've been through it twice now with my grandkids, and is absolutely a great thing to sit there and run through. And if you got kids or grandkids, it's really special, and you're given to a really great cause. So it's unique, and they've done a really good job with it. So. Okay, any other council people have anything you want to talk? Okay. Finance report. Lisa, anything you want to discuss? No. Okay. Engineering report. Don, anything? Community development. Matt, anything you want to discuss? Chief Jones. Okay. Are you ready to swear in your officers?
I am, sir.
Go ahead. I hope you're good, because this may be a way that she can stab you. If you want to come in for the cameras. You can take your mask off for pictures. Congratulations very much. Thank you, Chief. I'm going to make a comment that I had the opportunity again to be in with the officers at their weekly meeting, and we are so fortunate. Nicest, good bunch of officers and gentlemen and ladies that we'd all be very, very proud that they're a part of our staff. And so thank you, Chief. Okay. Resolution number 75, Series 2021, a resolution approving Timnath Landing 7th filing, final plat. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. As I can get the technology going. All right, so thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, this is the Timnath Landing 7th filing, final plat. The owner is CAC Timnath LLC, represented tonight by Mr. Michael Kirkendall. And the applicant is PCS Group, represented tonight by Mr. John Prestwich. This property is located at the northeast corner of 4th Avenue and the future Timnath Parkway, highlighted in blue there on your map, just east of Old Town Timnath. The property is zoned R2 single family residential with the PD overlay to it. This is, for reference, the approved preliminary plat, just so you all kind of get a grasp for the entire property with the relation of this 7th filing to the Timnath Landings property. This final plat proposal is to create 55 single-family detached fee simple lots. These lots will range from roughly 7,500 square feet to just about 12,000 square feet in size. The density for this single-family detached lots will be roughly 2.6 dwelling units per acre. This 7th filing is specifically also providing 32% open space within its filing boundary, which will include a pocket park with playground equipment, and then it'll also have trail connections to the rest of Timnath Landing and then into Old Town as well. Staff has reviewed this final plat in conformance with the land use code and the approved preliminary plat, which I just recently shown you. And this final plat is in conformance with that. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Prestwich for a brief presentation.
I think it was actually on. Hello? All right. Good evening, everyone. First off, thanks for taking the time out this evening to hear about this final plat proposal. John Prestwich with PCS Group, 200 Kalamath Street, Denver, Colorado, 80223. You've seen us here a bunch before, but we're the land planners and landscape architects for the Timnath Lakes community. And since this is a pretty simple application this evening, I'll keep this pretty brief.
It's not working. They'll just point to me, John.
There you go. You guys have seen this, but I always do like to take just a quick moment to acknowledge the team that has helped us get here this evening, as well as to thank Kevin and all of staff and all the review agencies that have helped us, again, get to the point where we're at this evening. So this slide depicts the existing sketch plan for the Timnath Lakes community. And really to kind of give everyone context for this application, the blue dashed line is highlighting the filing 7 plat area. You can see the other areas that are currently approved, filings 3 and 4 to the south of that. Kevin showed this one again, just very quickly for reference, this is from the approved preliminary plat. And again, the blue dashed line just shows the filing 7 area for reference. This is an illustrative version, again, of the final plat and final landscape drawings. As Kevin mentioned, the proposal is for 55 single-family detached fee simple lots, ranging in size from about 7,500 to about 12,000 square feet. And again, that's consistent with both the approved sketch plan and the preliminary plat. The pocket park area is basically right where filing 7 says, pointing to. And then the trail connections you can see coming back over to the trails that go around the entire lake area. So really, again, keeping it very simple. Looks like you've got a pretty busy agenda in front of you. And again, it's a pretty simple application. So to wrap up, again, you know, we're consistent with the approved sketch plan and PD overlay, consistent with the approved preliminary plat. The proposal has been thoroughly reviewed by town staff and referral agencies. Staff has recommended approval. Planning Commission has recommended approval. And thank you for your time, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? You did a good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, anything further?
No, Mayor.
No, who?
No, Mayor.
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought you said ma'am.
No, Mayor. No, not going that far.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve resolutions number 75, series 2021?
I move to recommend approval of the Timnath Landing 7th filing final plat with the following condition: to allow staff to work with the owner applicant to address minor non-substantive modifications and unresolved comments prior to final signature.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 75, series 2021, a resolution approving the Timnath Landing 7th filing final plat was approved unanimously. Resolution number 76, series 2021, a resolution approving the construction of an emergency access drive off of Grand Tree Boulevard. Matt.
Mayor, I'd like to interject first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would like to ask that I be excused from this because I excuse myself for anything dealing with Harmony Club because my brother's the owner, proudly.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that Rick be able to recuse himself from this vote.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carried unanimously. Thanks, Rick. We'll give him a chance to walk out the room. All right. Matt.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a pretty extensive staff report in the packet tonight. I'm not going to go through all the details, but I think you get a gist of the background of it. I'll jump ahead to what we're asking for. We're asking for this emergency access easement to provide relief from a fire sprinkler requirement for those homes on Mountain Shadow Way. The town is engaged in this because there's been a mixture of folks involved in this. The town needed to take up the mantle and kind of run with it to try to clean this up. And the location of the emergency access drive, and you see an exhibit in the packet, it's within an easement that the town has access to through the ditch company. It's basically where the Ditch Riders Road exists today. And then there's a Greeley water line easement that we've talked to Greeley Water about allowing the road to be there. We're looking at a 16-foot wide gravel all-weather surface, and it's about $60,000 is the quote from Connell. We're asking for about $75,000 from a council authorization so we can cover any contingency or other things that may come up. We're hoping we won't get to that point, but we want to have a little cushion in there. The way that we see this is to get reimbursed actually from the homeowners that elect to participate in the program, so to speak, that we're putting out there, a reimbursement program. There are 7 lots that are remaining that are north of the midpoint that could benefit from this. They could participate at $12,000 each. for amount of 84,000. That's would be everybody all in. If some choose not to participate and they wish to put a fire sprinkler in, they can go that route. And those costs are around 30 to 50,000 on a project of this size or a home of this size. So I think it's kind of a win-win, solving a little bit of a problem. We're rectifying some of the issues that have already gotten past us. And so with the property owner and the easement holders giving us the permission, and we worked with PFA to work this out. Think it's going to be a good solution in the end. So looking for the council to give us a direction. And I think the last point I'd add is if we do end up collecting more than the amount to be reimbursed to Connell and the contract administration component, we'd hold that money up to the max, and then we'd use it for maintenance obligations going forward. So some snow plowing or weed management or refreshing of the gravel or whatever it might be that might come about. So that's the proposal. And we've gotten support from several of the property owner or the builders that are up there right now, that then thereby those property owners are behind this as well. So everybody, it seems like the right move, and the town would be made whole at the end of the day.
Quick question, Matt.
Yep.
I thought there were some other houses that were sort of started construction that might take advantage of that to take it over the 8 houses you just mentioned.
Correct. There are some that are in the queue right now, and they might have already started sprinklers, and they may not want to go to the full energizing of that system. And we could give them, offer this same kind of thing so they don't have to take it all the way to the end.
So it's anybody there that wants to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And they could, and people even that have sprinklers could ask to participate just so they don't have to run their system even. So we could offer it up that way too. So we have some flexibility. Our goal was to get reimbursed for the fees that, or the costs that it would take. But then on top of that, we have a little bit of maintenance that we're going to have ongoing over time. So it would be good to go down this path. We feel so.
Any questions of Matt? Okay. Could I, Matt, are you done?
I'm good.
Okay. Did you have something you said? Oh, okay. You're just getting ready. Okay.
Ready to move.
Would you, way to go.
I moved to recommend approval of a resolution approving the construction of an emergency access drive off of Grand Tree Boulevard.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 76, series 2021, a resolution approving construction of an emergency access drive off of Grand Tree Boulevard, passed unanimously.
Quick question. Are we also approving the contract?
That is what's in
That's
the
what we're
packet.
yeah.
Yep, it is
Wasn't sure
actually.
if we were approving, yeah, we're going to build the road or yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
the approval had the resolution including the contract.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Ordinance number 14, series 2021, an ordinance amending the town budget for 2021 budget year. Lisa.
Yes, this ordinance is to increase our budget in the grants fund by 51,801, and it's just due to additional CARES funding that we spent this year. So the total appropriation would be 73,525.
Anybody have any questions? Do we need a motion to let Rick come back?
No.
Okay, good.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Just to see.
Just checking. This meeting's going to have a little bit of everything. Any questions on this? Okay, could I have a motion to move? Yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance entitled an ordinance amending the town budget for the 2021 budget year.
You know what? We're going to take a timeout. Do we have any public hearing comments? No. Thank you. All right. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ordinance number 14, series 2021, an ordinance amending the town budget for the 2021 budget year was approved unanimously. Ordinance 15, 2021, an ordinance summarizing the expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget, appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purposes as set forth for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2021 and ending on the last day of December 2022. Lisa.
Thank you. It's been a long road to get here, but we finally have the final budget for 2022. We last met with you on October 14th with the draft. And since then, we've met with staff, finalized some projections on the revenue, made some changes to expenditures. We also did an interactive online component for citizen engagement. We didn't get any questions or comments from that platform, but we were able to tell how many times the page had been loaded for the draft budget, and it was a little over 400. So people were out there looking at it. To give you an indication, all of the changes since your October 14th draft are summarized in bullet point, and I won't go through any of those, but if you have questions, I'm here to answer them. But as a result, that increased our total fund balance by $540,000. And so what I'm asking today is for approval to appropriate $43,432,804 for the general fund and $616,200 for the grant fund.
Okay. So first up, does anybody have any questions on the changes to the budget on since we saw last? Okay, great. Public hearing. Do we have anybody? Okay.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please.
Before we start the motion, I want to thank you and your staff. And the town manager and that went through this process. It's been a lengthy process. Actually started last spring, went over the summer and then October workshops and that, and very open and very, very good. So just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. It's definitely a group effort. I want to thank all the staff. There's a lot of collaboration.
Do you have any final comments, Lisa? Anybody have final questions? Could I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance entitled an ordinance summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget and appropriation sum of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and the purposes as set forth below for the town of Timnath, Colorado, calendar year beginning the first day of January 22nd and ending the last day of December 22nd.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance, no, this is a mouthful. Ordinance number 15, series 2021, an ordinance summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purpose as set forth below for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022 was approved unanimously. Resolution number 77, series 2021, resolution number 77, series 2021, approving levying general property taxes for the year 2021 to help defray the costs of government for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the 2022 budget. Lisa.
Yeah, this is just the resolution to adopt the mill levy, which I will certify tomorrow. Tomorrow's the deadline. Mill levy for property taxes at 6.688, and that is no increase from the previous year.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, could I have a motion? Sure, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Very quick, sorry. I just want to say that I'm glad we're keeping our mill levy so low. It's not much of a burden on our people that are paying taxes. It's usually a couple $100, $300 for an average priced house here in Timnath. I just wanted to reiterate that because people talk about the high taxes, and I just want them to realize that it's not the town of Timnath that is collecting these high taxes. So,
Good comment.
And I will make the motion if
Okay,
you're ready.
that sounds just
So
great.
I move to approve the resolution approving levying general property taxes for the year 2021 to help defray the costs of government for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the 2022 budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 77, Series 2021, Resolution number 77, Series 2021, approving levying general property taxes for the year 2021 to help defray the costs of government for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the 2022 budget, passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Resolution number 78, Series 2021, a resolution approving an amendment to the amended and restated model service plan for Saratoga Falls Metropolitan Districts number 1 and 3, and authorizing an amendment of the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Timnath and districts 1 and 3. I have a very small inconsequential note to Saratoga Falls District 3, and therefore I request recusal from the discussion here. So all those.
Do we have a motion to excuse?
Thanks.
Second.
Mayor, you're excused. My mic on, okay. We'll turn it over to staff to explain what's in this resolution.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is a pretty minor amendment to the Saratoga Falls Metropolitan Districts number 1 and 3. Since it is an amendment, we're just amending the amended and restated version that was recently, a few years back, approved. So I'll hit the highlights. The boundaries of districts 1 and 3 have changed. District 1 includes the area as platted as Saratoga Falls number 3, filing 3. So there's no confusion there. District 1 is now filing 3, which is the recent approved final platted 250 lots on the very east side of the Kiefer Glover ditch. There's also been, so the revised cost estimates associated with those public improvements for that District 1 boundary. And then there's the maximum debt limit has been increased to reflect those public improvement costs. So that's what's in the service plan amendment. The IGA amendment is includes 2 items. One is the imposition of an operations fee of up to $1,200 per residence, very similar to the one that we just did for Fisher Farm, and that's coming up here on the Ladera Metro District. This also, the IGA consents to the exclusion of Track C. Track C is the commercial track that's in the corner right by Main Street and Prospect Road. That commercial tract, they want to exempt that out of the exclude it from the District 1 so that the residential mill levy isn't applied to it, so it would make it unmarketable. Tonight, we have with us David O'Leary, David Greer, yeah, to present.
Members of the council, I don't think I could.
It's on. Would you state your name?
Oh, sure. My name is David Greer. I'm with the firm of Collins, Cockrell and Cole, and I'm here actually on behalf of the developer and property owner within District Number 1 that's requesting this amendment. And I don't think I could do a better job. I'm really just here tonight to answer any questions that the council may have, but I think staff has done an excellent job of teeing this up.
Does anybody have any questions from the staff or from the developers representative? Is there any anybody wants to speak in the public? No. Okay. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve a resolution approving an amendment to the amended and restated model service plan for Saratoga Falls Metropolitan Districts numbers 1 and 3, and authorizing an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Timnath and districts numbers 1 and 3.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no. The mayor recused himself. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, you.
All right. Ordinance number 16, series 2021, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Timnath, organizing the Ladera Business Improvement District, providing for an election of the board of directors of the district, and approving the 2021-2022 operating plan and budget for the district. Carolyn.
Thank you. I'm Carolyn Steffel, and I'm with the law firm Dietza and Davis, and I'm special counsel for the town, and have in that capacity reviewed both the service plan for the Ladera Metropolitan District, which will be your next action item, and this one, which is the Ladera Business Improvement District. And this one has a little bit different structure than some of what you've seen in the past, where the town is being asked to approve organization of a business improvement district for the commercial property that will be developed in the full Ladera development, and the separate metropolitan district for the residential development. For the business improvement district, this has had first reading. It must be approved by an ordinance. It's on your agenda for second reading of the ordinance. The town council did set the public hearing date for today. It's been published as a public hearing, and it has also, notice has been sent to the property owners. So all of the property within the business improvement district initial boundaries is in the boundaries of the town. It's been annexed already. So all of those jurisdictional requirements to hear this have been met. So what you're looking at is, and we also have the attorney for the applicants is here, and they have a presentation as well. So I won't get into all of the development details that he's going to get into. But the business improvement district is a little different than a metropolitan district in that it is, instead of having a service plan to organize it, they're going to have an operations plan and a budget. And those must be approved by the town every year. So what is before you as approval for this ordinance is the operation plan and budget for 2021, the rest of it, and for 2022. And then in September of 2022, they'll come back to you with the operating plan and the budget for the next year. Now, that operating plan has a lot of the same limitations you'd see in a service plan. So that's where you've got the limitation that the maximum debt they can issue is $95 million. And that's in aggregate with the metropolitan districts that are going to be developed. The initial boundaries are just the property that has been annexed into the town already, the phase 1 of Ladera, and the future inclusion area may be any of the phase 2 or 3 of Ladera up to a total of 240 acres. But of course, it would have to be annexed first, and it would only be the commercial areas that would be included into the BID. To petition for a BID, the property owners need to petition, and it needs to be at least 50% of the property owners by both assessed valuation and by square footage. It's both, because all of the property that's going to be in the BID is owned by the Connell LLC, which is the one 100%, and they're the one that signed this. In fact, town staff even called the county assessor today to make sure that they still own all of that property, and they sure do. So that requirement has been met. And the second thing that the ordinance does is you need to designate the property as a future commercial development. And that's a requirement. So if it's not already developed for commercial, that's a finding and designation that you're going to make. Another thing you can do is determine who the initial board of directors is going to be for the BID. And the petitioners have asked that the initial board of directors be 3 individuals who are named in your ordinance. It's Grant Nelson, Tony A. Connell, and Sherry C. Welch. Then subsequently, they're going to be subject to elections. Starting in May of 2022, there's a regular special district election. The BID would have elections just like metropolitan districts would. It's a little bit different because commercial owners can designate and commercial tenants can designate to have an individual person vote for them. So as opposed to a metropolitan district where you have to be a resident or own property, in a BID, you can have a commercial owner that designates someone to vote for them, or you can have a commercial tenant that designates someone to vote for them. But those are the individuals that are going to be voting for the future board of directors, starting in that May election, and then approximately every 2 years, other than changing. They're changing from even to odd year elections. Okay, so we've put a lot of the limitations that are in your model service plan into this operations plan, since you don't have a model operations plan, but there's still a debt limit of 50 mils. That's the aggregate for both O&M and debt service. However, the BID does not expect to issue up to that 50 mils. So you'll actually see the financials that are provided as an explanation of what they're planning to do or proposing to do shows maybe up to 25 mils. But they could issue up to 50 mils. In addition, the financials show they may have a public improvement fee of up to 1%. What that is that's a private covenant imposed fee. As a property owner, they can, in their declaration of covenants, put in a requirement that future owners and future tenants have to collect an additional charge on sales. And they could also do it on lodging, but this what's proposing would be on sales. So it would be approximately 1% that would be on sales. And then that could be reimbursed to pledged either to the bid by separate agreement, or it could be reimbursed to the developer to pay for costs that are associated with the development of the property. Those financials are not actually, you're not being actually asked to approve them. They're just being provided as an FYI to show you what they're proposing to do. But the limitations are those general limitations that are in the operating plan. Other limitations that we put in there, requirements for financial advisor, limitations on interest rates. Some of those were pulled out from the model service plan and put into that BID. Let's see. Okay, so statutory criteria to approve. First, you have to find that the town council has jurisdiction to organize the BID. I recommend that that has been met. Secondly, that the organization petition has been duly signed and presented in conformity with the Business Improvement District Act. Yes, I do recommend that that has been met because we found that it has that 50% property ownership being signed. That the allegations of the organization petition are true, and I do recommend that they appear to be true, and that the types of services or improvements to be provided by the proposed district are the services or improvements that best satisfy the purposes of the Business Improvement District Act, which are to serve a public purpose, to promote the health, safety, prosperity, security, and general welfare of inhabitants thereof, property owners therein, and all people of the state, and to promote the continued vitality of commercial businesses within the municipalities, and to be of special benefit to the property within the boundaries of any district created. And again, I would recommend that those criteria have been met because it is serving a public purpose that the BID can only finance public infrastructure and public improvements. And they can then go out and issue debt. They can impose that mill levy to repay that debt, but it has to be used for those public improvement purposes. So by building that, it will make it easier for the property to develop. It will serve those future taxpayers and other visitors that visit that property or that use those roads, so they can be for roads, water, sewer, all of those improvements. So that's my presentation, and we also have the applicant here to tell you a little bit more about how this all fits together with the BI, with the metropolitan districts. Any questions for me before I turn over the mic? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, my name is David O'Leary. I'm with a law firm of Spencer, Fain in Denver. I'm here on behalf of the applicant for both BID and the Metro districts. As Carolyn indicated, there is a little bit of a different structure. Instead of it being just in a commercial district, they're utilizing a BID to provide those same or similar kinds of services. As Carolyn indicated, the initial boundaries are phase one. There are 3 phases that are anticipated for the project. The reason why there's 3, there's a commercial area And right now, not all the property has been annexed. So there's a future inclusion area of the 240 acres. Phase 1 covers the property that is within the boundaries and has been annexed to the town as well. The future inclusion area could go into the BID or the Metro District, depending upon whether it's commercial or residential. Maximum mill levy for the Metro District is 50 mills, and that is consistent with service plans in your town. The maximum amount of debt, aggregate debt of the BID is 95 million. We anticipate that the Metro District will have a debt in approximate about 38 million in debt. The Business Improvement District doesn't intend and doesn't anticipate it can discharge all of its debt based on 25 mils. And the reason most commercial property can't support a 50 mil assessment, it just wouldn't be marketable. They're taxed at different assessment rates, so that lower mill levy will be assessed in the BID. With regard to the statutory requirements, we do have all of the statutory requirements met. We've published and provided notice as required by the town policy and in accordance with statute. We're here to answer any other questions that you have, but we believe that we've complied with all the statutory requirements for both the BID and the Metro Districts, and we're available to answer any questions that you have.
Great, thank you. Questions? Questions for me? Yes, Brett?
With the Metropolitan District, you have the maximum mill levy of 50 mills. I believe I saw some financial projections of the intent to do 25 mills in the Metro District as well. Is that accurate?
It's either or. So the 25 mills in the BID
Right.
would be just for the commercial property.
Right.
The Metro District is 50. It's not in that, it doesn't add on to it.
Okay.
It's just the residential property can go up to 50 mills. That's consistent with other Metro Districts in the town.
Is it the intent to charge 50? Is that what the projections are?
I believe that they ran it at a 40 and I believe that they ran it at a different level.
That'd be great for anyone that lived there if they ended up being able to hit 25. So I just want to make sure I understood if that was even on the cards.
Actually, David's kind of stepping in.
She had a baby.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
congratulations. Yeah. Like, the manager had a baby like a couple of days ago.
Right.
They
So
haven't represented to me that they're gonna necessarily.
It's a cap. So initial projections and initial service plans typically will put the cap for purposes of capacity determination. It will be what the market can determine typically. So residential in a lot of your districts in Timnath are running at 50 mills in the aggregate for both debt and O&M. Commercial districts typically will assess a lower mill levy. A lot of them are running at about 25 mills.
Okay, thank you.
So just to follow up on that 25, is that's similar to what we see down in Centera, the other sort of adjacent properties here?
And a lot of, well, Centera is a little bit different. So there's difference in commercial districts. There is a PIF in Centera as well. So the sales tax provides the majority of the revenue in there. The mill levies are assessed in a commercial portion or the commercial areas at a lower level, and typically that's for an operations type issue, but sales tax is going to be for a commercial retail establishment. The sales tax is going to generate typically what you need, and the mill levy can be a lot lower.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments, you guys? Okay, do I have a motion then for ordinance? No. It doesn't say public. Huh? Is it? This one doesn't provide for a public hearing. It should have?
Yeah, it's not on our.
Should be, okay.
It
so
should
is
have
there-
been
Is there something
written
for a
like
public
that.
hearing?
Yes, I have Connor Duffy, who would like to speak on all of the Ladera Connell.
Okay. I couldn't hear what he said. Okay.
He just wants us 3 minutes.
Yeah, I don't need to speak on each one of them. Just this one. Thank you very much for taking public comment. I know that there was something on, I think on the first packet it went on, said that there was public comment tonight. As I stated at last meeting, I support.
Could we get your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
you.
it's Connor Duffy, 5351 Emmeline Lake Court, Timnath, Colorado, 80547.
Thank you.
As I said at the last meeting, I support Ladera. I think it's zoned right. I think the mixed use is great. I don't think that the $5 million tax rebate is egregious. I support what Councilman Collins said last meeting. You know, if we don't have those kind of agreements, they may be a tough pill to swallow, but if we don't have those type of agreements, we don't get it developed. I think that this checks all the boxes. The one thing that I would like to push back on and request that the council do is approve this under condition that the public improvement fee is not included. The reason for that is it's a tax. It's a sales tax. And, you know, I know we can call it whatever we want, but at the end of the day, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. All right. It's about 1% on all of the goods sold in the commercial space. The reason why I push back on that is we as a town have voted on this on referendum. We say no sales tax. I think we've done this twice. I know it was done in 18 when I was here. And I know that this is just for Ladera that you're going to approve tonight, but it actually applies to the whole town. Because if you just look on our development map, we have about, I think, just on Harmony Road, over 10 commercial developments that are zoned to come in over approximately probably the next 5 to 15 years. They will also be able to have this type of public improvement fee in their business improvement districts as well. You're setting precedent tonight that will shape what's going to happen as far as taxes and what people actually pay for goods in Timnath for potentially the next 30 to 40 years. These business improvement districts last just as long as a metro district. So if you're going to do that, I beg of you to think of the future developments that are coming in. I mean, how many times have we heard here, you know, it's just a matter of rooftops, all right? Well, actually it's not. It's a matter of incentives, all right? And we know that. And like I said, some of them are well warranted. This public improvement fee, it just isn't. I think one of the simple solutions to this is put it up for referendum. You know, we in this town have put up things as inconsequential as renaming Latham Parkway. All right, if we can put that up for referendum, then we can put up the small public improvement fee portion of this up for referendum. I think there might be a lot of people who agree with it. I think there's a lot of people who go to the Costco and they look there and they say, oh, thank gosh, we've got some development in here. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I think that is the most transparent way for us to be able to do that. Now, I hope that you do that. I mean, turnout here of, you know, people publicly speaking, it isn't very high, right? But I think that if people really understand what's in this packet tonight, that they would be interested to see that that public improvement fee acting like a sales tax is going to go up. So again, thank you for letting me speak. You know, I really like the Ladera group, kind of local people. I hope it gets approved under that one condition. Thank you very much.
Comment. Lori, my understanding is we have no control over the assessment of the PIF, that is part of their commercial right, and we as a town cannot deny it.
That is correct. The amount, right.
So even if we didn't like the PIF, we as this council do not have the authority or the ability to deny that 1%.
And go ahead, Carolyn.
And I think,
Yeah.
I don't think we need you, Carolyn.
Okay.
And so I think the key of this is the property owner can do it. If the property owner puts a sales tax that's way in excess of what people want to pay, they'll affect their commercial development. And, but we aren't entitled to deny the PIF.
And also, we have Carolyn White on the Zoom call who would like to add some comments as well. She
We have Carolyn
represents-
White on what?
She's on Zoom.
Okay,
And I think they can get her up and she'd
for
like to
public
add some-
comment?
Well, she represents Connell, so. and
Okay.
Ladera.
All right.
Mayor, council, city staff, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I was standing by in case there were questions about the PIF. Based on your comment a moment ago, Mayor, I gather that perhaps you weren't looking for an answer to a question, but I will just confirm for the record that the PIF is a private contract between the property owner and its tenants and subsequent purchasers, and it's not something that has been submitted to the town for its review. It's not something over which the town has authority to approve or deny. And so that's not actually one of the items that's before you tonight, but you did point out the key thing, which is if they set it too high and become non-competitive, then certainly that's not desirable for the project either, and they certainly have no intention of doing so.
Thanks, Carolyn. Do you have anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, I can't see her. Sorry, Carolyn, I can't see you. You're in the ether.
No, thank you. No additional comments.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion for ordinance number 16, series 2021, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Timnath organizing the Ladera Business Improvement District, providing for an election of the board of directors of the district and approving the 2021-2022 operating plan and budget for the district?
You need your mic there. Matt.
Yeah, mentioned something about what the gentleman just brought up. I've served on this council for about 4 years, and we've been pushing for development like this to come along. And at some point, I feel like I was elected to represent the people that are out there, and this is how we get that kind of development. I have no question that we're going to be asked to do these kind of other incentives as Harmony Corridor is developed as well. And if that's what the marketplace demands in order to land those kind of opportunities, I think we're going to have to jump onto it. The real judge here will be the developer and the owners that take those properties to keep them in line where they're not going to lose their businesses or lose their development. And there is an act of faith here on all our parts. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve the resolution as drafted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance number 16, series 2021, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Timnath organizing the Ladera Business Improvement District, providing for an election of the board of directors of the district and approving the 2021-2022 operating plan and budget for the district was approved unanimously. I've got to make a comment, and Connor, I am so disappointed in you for your post on Nextdoor to imply that there's anything nefarious or underhanded that this council is doing by scheduling this meeting and this vote. There's not a single person here that makes a dime doing this. They're all acting on total service and as a servant's heart. And for you to suggest that, I find pretty abhorrent. And I thought, yes.
Or in public comment, and perhaps this might be.
Great idea to suggest to the mayor.
It might be better served that this conversation be held at a different time. privately. So we can continue our meeting, please.
Thanks.
I like the stretching of the arms too.
Resolution number 79, Series 2021, a resolution approving the service plan for Ladera Metropolitan Districts number 1 and 2, and authorizing the execution of an IGA between the town of Timnath and Districts 1 and 2. Lori. Carolyn.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Again, it's Carolyn Steffel of Dietza and Davis, and I am here representing the town. And I have reviewed the service plan. I would like to kind of start off again by letting you know that the jurisdictional requirements have been met. This is a proposal to organize 2 new metropolitan districts, Ladera Metropolitan Districts number 1 and number 2, both of which have very small initial boundaries of 0.13 acres, I believe, and then larger future inclusion areas. But those initial boundaries are within the boundaries of the town. They have been annexed. They are within that phase 1 of Ladera. Part of the reason why they are so small is because most of that phase 1 of Ladera will be commercial, so it will be within the BID. Generally, property cannot be included in both the BID and the metropolitan district, with the exception of those small initial boundaries. So for the future development, it's going to have to be included either into the BID if it's commercial or the metropolitan districts if it's residential. And there is a future inclusion area, which again includes the whole 240 acres. So it may be that some of the other property within phase 1 will be included into these metropolitan districts and will be developed for residential. This is set for a public hearing. Notice of the public hearing has been published, has been sent to the property owner within those boundaries, and has also been sent to taxing districts that are within a 3-mile radius of the property that have issued taxes in the last taxing year, municipalities and special districts. So meeting those requirements, we are set to go forward today. Again, the applicant's attorney is here. This service plan follows the model service plan very closely. There are very few variances from the model service plan. One of the main variances is the difference that there is the business improvement district and the metropolitan district structure. So there is some additional language added which references that business improvement district. For one thing, there's an aggregate mill levy, an aggregate debt limit of $95 million that if you add the debt of both the BID and the Metropolitan District together, it cannot exceed $95 million. There's also a separate debt limit of just the Metropolitan Districts because we recommended adding that to give that protection since this is going to be a residential district and we know that a lot of the assessed valuation is going to be in commercial. So the Metropolitan Districts alone cannot exceed $38 million of debt issuance. And so it will be the lesser of $38 million or $95 million in the aggregate. There is also an aggregate mill levy limitation, which is per the model service plan. It's 50 mills for operations and maintenance and debt service combined. Councilmember Hansen pointed out that the financial plan that's attached to this does show a 25 mil debt authorization. Now that would be for the mill for debt, and there would be an O&M mill levy on top of that, but that's not the limitation. That's just a projection. So they could definitely go up to that full 50 mills, and historically other communities have done that. They are projecting that there would be future development of 1,164 homes, and I understand that there might be some upgrades to infrastructure of the sanitation district and some others to actually get to that level. The town has not approved development at that level yet. This is not a land use approval. That would be a separate issue down the road, but that is the basis for the financial plan that showed the ability to repay the debt that they're asking for as a debt limitation. The model service plan also has a 40-year limitation that the mill levy cannot be assessed against an individual property for more than 40 years. So 40 years from the first date, after 40 years, the debt service mill levy has to go away. At that point, you can still have the operations and maintenance mill levy, but the debt service mill levy would have to go away unless the service plan was amended to extend that by council. And let's see. Okay, I think that's the basic thing. We have two modifications to the service plan that was included in the version that was in your board packet for two last minute changes. The first one is on, it's page 7 of the service plan, but it's page 480 of the board packet. You'll see this included in here, a maximum operation and maintenance mill levy. And originally in your board packet, it had a maximum, I'm sorry, I misstated that, not mill levy, a maximum operations and maintenance fee. In the in the council packet, the fee was listed as a maximum of $1,500 per home per year. And that was not consistent with what the town has approved before for Fisher Farms and for Saratoga. So in conversation with the applicants, they have changed that to match what the town has done in the past. So we'll be substituting in that page to clarify. It will read, the districts may approve a fee not to exceed $1,200 per year per residential unit for operations and maintenance services, including but not limited to covenant enforcement, garbage collection, and landscaping. So that's the only change, is $1,500 to $1,200. The other change we have is that Exhibit G was not completed, and we're going to just fill in the, complete it with the signed completed affidavit. This is the affidavit regarding overlap consent, and the Water District and the Sanitation District have both consented to organization of this new district, which will pay for water and sewer infrastructure that will be then dedicated to those districts. When you have two districts organized, overlapping, that provide the same type of service, the existing district needs to consent to organization of the new district. That has been accomplished, and so we're going to put in that signed affidavit. Now, the criteria for approval have been established. So the town needs to consider the, let me find that page as the criteria for approval. There it is. Okay. So there are, under the town's policy, there are mandatory criteria that must be found. If you do not find them, you have to disapprove a service plan. And there are discretionary criteria that you may use as discretion for disapproving a service plan. Again, you can approve it with conditions, or you can disapprove a service plan. The mandatory criteria you must find are, first, that there is sufficient existing and projected need for organized service in the area to be served by the proposed special district. There are no other districts that have said that they're willing to pay for this public infrastructure. So that's the basis for that finding. The existing service in the area to be served by the proposed special district is inadequate for present and projected needs. The basis for making that finding is that the public infrastructure is not in place so far. The roads, the sewer, the water lines, the wastewater lines, drainage, parks, all of those infrastructure needs. Third, that the proposed special district is capable of providing economical and sufficient service to the area within its proposed boundaries. And the basis for that would be the limitation on the operations and maintenance fee, as well as the financial projections that are included. And that the area to be included in the proposed special district has or will have the financial ability to discharge the proposed indebtedness on a reasonable basis. The support for that is a financial plan that is attached to the service plan, which shows that the metropolitan districts would have the ability to repay the debt. The optional criteria have also been met, that adequate service is not or will not be available through the town, the county, or other existing municipalities or quasi-municipalities within a reasonable time and on a comparable basis. You guys don't want to pay for this infrastructure. No one else is stepping up to pay for this infrastructure. The facility and service standards of the proposed special district are compatible with the standards of the town. That is correct. They will still have to go through the land use approval process and make sure that your requirements are met. The proposed service plan is in substantial compliance with the town's comprehensive plan. Staff has assured me that that is the case. The proposed service plan is in compliance with the town's and any regional long-term water quality management plan. Again, staff has assured me that that is the case. And the creation of the proposed district is in the best interest of the area proposed to be served in the town. Well, it does allow the development to go through by helping to finance this public infrastructure. The metropolitan districts may enter into an IGA with the BID, and the BID may issue all of the debt, and the metropolitan districts may pledge their tax revenue to the BID to repay that debt, or the metropolitan district may issue their own debt and the BID may issue their own debt. But those are the basics of what's being proposed. They've met the requirements for you to consider this, and that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions?
Okay.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Sure.
Public comment? Okay. Any other comments from you guys? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution approving the service plan for Ladera Metropolitan District numbers 1 and 2 and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the town of Timnath and the districts.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution 79, Series 2021, a resolution approving the service plan for Ladera Metropolitan Districts number 1 and 2 and authorizing the execution of an IGA between the town of Timnath and districts 1 and 2 passed unanimously. Ordinance number 17, Series 2021, an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Article 3 of the Timnath Municipal Code by providing a sales tax credit to offset a public improvement fee for certain improvements paid at Ladera. Lori.
Okay, thank you. So this is second reading of an ordinance you've considered, and this is in relation to the okay. So this relates to the public finance agreement for the Ladera development that was approved by the town council at the November meeting. And the town also approved on first reading the sales tax credit ordinance. What this would do is it would provide the property within the boundaries of the Ladera Phase 1 that's already been annexed into the town, a credit against the sales tax. The sales tax is currently in the amount of 3%, except for foods for home consumption. And the credit would be half of that amount, so 1.5%, until such time as a total of $5 million has been collected from that credit. That credit can then be paid to the developer as an incentive to complete this development and to pay for some of the infrastructure to make this project financially viable for the developer. The remainder of the 1.5%, the remainder half of the sales tax will continue to be collected by the town. And at such time as the $5 million has been collected, and the credit will go away and the town will receive the full sales tax again.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. That is correct. It is 10 years from certificate of occupancy, I believe, from the first certificate of occupancy on the property. So if the $5 million has not been collected. That's right. That's right. Thank you for that clarification.
Anything further, Carolyn?
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Melissa, public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Do I have a motion for ordinance number 17, Series 2021?
I move to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Article 3 of the Timnath Municipal Code by providing for a sales tax credit to offset a public improvement fee for certain improvements paid at Ladera.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? ordinance number 17, series 2021, and ordinance amending chapter 4, article 3 of the Timnath Municipal Code by providing for a sales tax credit to offset a public improvement fee for certain improvements paid by Ladera, passed unanimously. Resolution number 80, series 2021, a resolution approving the subdivision improvement agreement with Ladera subdivision. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the subdivision improvement agreement for that first phase of the Ladera subdivision. It is based off of our standard template for subdivision improvements. Minor modifications were made to it due to the phasing of the project with the construction timing of some of the improvements and things like that. But generally, it is in compliance with our typical standard template for SIAs. With that, I can answer any questions you might have on it.
Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 80?
I move to approve the resolution approving the subdivision improvement agreement for the Ladera subdivision.
Do I have a second? All those in favor of resolution number 80, series 2021, say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution number 80, series 2021, a resolution approving the subdivision improvement agreement for the Ladera subdivision, passed unanimously. Ordinance number 18, series 2021, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 22, series 2018, and an ordinance approving an amendment to the Town of Timnath Employee Handbook. Aaron Adams.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This 6L and 6M actually go a little bit hand in hand. In 2018, the last revision happened to the employee handbook. That was done by ordinance. Our charter actually prescribes that to one of my roles and responsibilities. The ordinance before you tonight would actually lift that from code, putting it back into the manager's position to approve changes to personnel policies. That would be 6L. 6M piggybacks off of that and gets specific to observed town holidays. With the addition of a national holiday for Juneteenth, we are proposing to add a flexible holiday for employees to recognize that. So I'm happy to take questions. They do both represent a public hearing, so you'll have to handle them separately, but that's really the comments to both, and I'm happy to handle any questions you might have to that.
Anybody? Okay, thanks, Aaron. So do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 18, series 2021?
I move to approve ordinance number 18, series 2021, and ordinance repealing ordinance number 22, series 2018, and an ordinance approving an amendment to the Town of Timnath Employee Handbook.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance number 18, series 2021, and ordinance repealing the ordinance number 22, series 2018, and an ordinance approving an amendment to the Town of Timnath Handbook was approved unanimously. Does anyone here feel we should have a discussion on ordinance 19, series 2021?
Very important matter, but I think I can skip my questions.
So could I have a motion for ordinance number 19, series 2021?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I can read it if you want. So.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll read it for us.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance number 19, series 2021, and ordinance repealing section 2-2-100 of the Timnath Municipal Code relating to holidays, passed unanimously. Resolution number 81, series 2021, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with Larimer County regarding cooperation on managing urban development. Matt.
Thank you, Mayor. This is actually a pretty quick item. It sounds a lot more involved in what it is. It's actually a minor amendment to the IGA with Larimer County. The original agreement that was approved in September of 2020 contained language that said by December 31st of 2021 that both of our respective council and their board of county commissioners had to take action to do something related to the IGA. This is where the thing that they wanted us to do is to adopt supplemental regulations to address issues or land development that may happen in the GMA. Since that time, Larimer County actually adopted a pretty robust land use code amendment that has pretty good, in our estimation, after doing a review of it, that they actually are managing land use development pretty well from their perspective. So we wouldn't need to like adopt our code, for example, with this IGA. So we basically say the land use codes, the standards that Larimer County has are acceptable to us. We also put in there that there's street and engineering standards where we wanted to call out what roads would be urban, meaning they're curb and gutter versus rural road cross sections. And we've included that as an exhibit. There are a couple other minor clarifications in the IGA that they're in the packet. The one thing I do want to point out that I've actually put on your at your desk is the map, the growth management area map. We did a little tweak to it from the one that's in your packet. Larimer County, they took issue with the we had drawn the boundary around the hatched area that's considered cooperative planning area. It was a little different graphically shown. The intent is always the same. So we've actually changed the graphic to show the line below that instead of encompassing it. So it meets the same intent either way. It's just a graphic representation. So I put that on your chair. We're going to substitute that out. I will make note that yesterday, the County Board of Commissioners actually had a work session and they were all in agreement with these changes, and they will be hearing it on December 21st. And so with our approval tonight, with your pending your approval tonight, we'll forward that approved document onto them for their review and approval on the 21st.
Great, thanks, Mac. Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 81?
Mayor, this is a public hearing.
Yep. Melissa, anybody? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion for resolution number 81?
I move to recommend approval of a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with Larimer County regarding cooperation on managing urban development.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 81, Series 2021, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with Larimer County regarding cooperation on managing the urban development was approved unanimously. First reading and setting a public hearing for January 11th, 2021 at 6 o'clock. Ordinance number 3, Series 2022, an ordinance referring ballot questions to the electors regarding amendments to the town charter and setting forth other details relating thereto. Carolyn.
Thank you. Okay, so you have, we have placed this as a regular agenda item as opposed to a consent agenda item, just in case the town council wanted to have any discussion about this, because it's a little more of a impactful, and there's kind of a lot in here in this little ordinance. So as you know, the town will be having a regular election on April 5th, 2022. What this ordinance would do would be contingent on you holding an election, refer some questions to the electors. Now, as you know, if there are not more candidates than open positions, the town designated election official, which will be the town clerk, will be authorized to cancel the election. And so this referral will be only if you're already having an election, so that you don't have to incur that expense if you're not otherwise holding an election. If the election ends up being canceled, these questions could be referred at a later election, such as a November election, which could be held as a coordinated election with the county. Okay, there are three things that are accomplished here. The first one would be to add back term limits for all elected officials of the town. Under the Colorado Constitution, all local government elected officials have term limits unless waived by the voters. In Timnath, they have already been waived by the voters. So this would be adding back in the same limitations as are currently in the Colorado Constitution, which means that you cannot have more than two consecutive terms of office, and this would begin starting with the election in April 2022. So you could have 2 additional full terms after that. And it does refer to full terms. So if someone's appointed midterm to fill a vacancy, that would not count. It'd be 2 full terms. Let's see. So if their terms less than 4 years, then it could be 3 years. Once you reach your term limits, you must take 4 years off before you can run again. However, that only applies to your specific position. If you're a council member, you could still run for mayor. If you're a mayor, you could still run for council member. Okay, the second one, it would be a change that would change the election dates of regular council elections. Currently, your council elections are scheduled for April of even years. Municipal elections are held on those dates, but as you know, other governments are not holding elections on those dates. So what this would do instead would be changed to a November election date. It would be the first Tuesday in November of odd years, which would coincide with a coordinated election. So Larimer County would be holding an election. Other special districts may be referring questions on that date. Other towns may be referring questions on that date. And so the ballot has other things. That is would be more cost effective for the town because the county actually serves as the coordinated election official. They put together the ballots, they mail the ballots, and then they split that cost amongst the governments that are participating in that election. So that would be the primary reason for that, to reduce the administrative burden on your staff of having to fully conduct the election and to be able to coordinate with the county, and also in the hopes that that would be more cost effective. Because of the need to change from April of even years to November of odd years, what is proposed is that the terms of the officials who are in office at the time that this item would be passed would be extended to the next odd November election, so that essentially it'd be a 5.5-year term instead of a 4-year term for those for the council members that are currently sitting that are not running for election in May, and for the council members that are in April, and the council members that are newly elected this April. The third item that would, and these are all charter amendments, and they're all going to be referred for voting of your electors. They are going to be 3 separate questions, so it's possible that one could pass and another could not pass. The third would be just a cleanup to clean up some election dates, because right now the dates in the town charter for when you submit petitions for running for council member or mayor are not consistent with state law, and they don't allow enough time for the town clerk to be able to conduct an election. She can't receive a petition 30 days before an election and then conduct an election. In fact, there are requirements to send out ballots to overseas service people and other overseas citizens that come before the date for submitting the petition under the town charter. So what we have done in the election ordinance, which you approved on consent agenda, was to say that we're going to follow the state law deadlines. But this just cleans it up to make sure that the charter deadlines match the state law deadlines. And I'm open to any questions.
I don't have any specific questions, but I have a couple comments.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. Comments?
I had a couple thoughts on this, on the ballots, and I can see the point of having our election somewhat in November to make it easier on staff. But I also know how busy those elections are in November. And I think that having our town's elected officials sort of on their own. We certainly get good turnout, so that's not been an issue. I think it would tend to get lost in that by having it along with a bunch of other ballot issues. I also feel that when the folks, you three that were elected in 2020, that the people who voted for you elected you for a 4-year term, not a 5-year and 8-month term or a 7-month term, whatever. So I feel if we were to implement this, then there should be the elections in 2024 for a shortened term of 1 year and 7 months, and people can vote on that. And then that wouldn't count against the term limits if that were to pass, because it's not a full 4-year term. So you could possibly end up with 2 4-year terms and a 1 year and 7-month term. But just like if we were to say to each other and say, I think it's time that we get some stipend for our duties here, because we all put in more time than when this was initially done, 10 years ago, and they said, no, we're not going to get paid. I do feel like that would be a good change. But if we were going to do that, we wouldn't do it for our sitting time. Wouldn't get paid starting next month. We would do it for the next elected set of officials. So I feel this is just right in line with that. We can't change the terms halfway through the tenure of this term. So I think the residents and the constituents should be the ones who get to vote on this for that shortened term. So those are sort of my comments on that. I had a couple notes. No, that's it.
Aaron, good comments all. Good comments. I want to make sure before we proceed that I've got the procedure right. This didn't go on a consent calendar. So tonight we're not looking for a motion on this. We're just looking for discussion only, because we knew that going 5 years, 8 months would be something that have to be discussed. And the others, things that were not brought up, it's my understanding some of the jurisdictions around us like Windsor and some of the others are moving to November, because if you're going to be in the election business as we go forward, you'd better cross your T's and dot your I's so carefully. And we've burdened Melissa with trying to put together this thing every couple of years, and it's getting harder and harder. And a full-time staff, I think we're spending around 17 to 22,000 for an election. And we said, if Windsor, Severance, if others are looking at doing this, we might want to do it too. Granted, you might get lost, but in the shuffle, but I think all those yard signs, everything, people will still have a ballot in front of them, still say, this is our hometown election too. So there's pros and cons on the thing. I don't like the 5-year, 8-month deal too, but that's how these things are rolled out historically across the country. When I think you'll find when people make these kind of changes, you can't ever take any of the term away from somebody.
So you cannot, that's correct. You cannot shorten a term of an existing officer or council member. However, there are 2 options. So the state statute says that municipalities can switch to November elections, and by referring this to a vote of their constituents, and it does say that if that vote passes, then the sitting town governing body can revise by ordinance the terms of the existing members to extend them as needed to accomplish the change. So first of all, there is some statutory authorization that you can do it that way. You are not required to. I do know that that is how Severance just recently did it, is they did extend it to the 5 years, or maybe they're in the process of considering it. I guess I'm not sure if that's been approved. The other option is if you look at what metropolitans are doing, districts are doing, and special districts are doing, they are moving from even year elections to odd year elections. And the way that they did it is it took kind of 5 years to get there, because they're going to have 2 years in a row. So to get there, what they did is they had a 3-year term, and the next year was a 3-year term, and then they eventually got back to a 4-year term. So there is an alternative, which would be instead of shortening the terms, you would you still have a regular, so you're going to have an election this April of 2022. You could have another election in April 2024, which was for a shortened term, to get to a November election. It would just take several years to get there. So that, again, the cost of the administrative burden versus how quickly you want to get there. But there is another possibility. It would just take several years to get there.
I appreciate that. And this is just tonight, just to make sure people have it sort of on their radar screen kind of deal.
Yeah, and then also just to clarify, we have to vote on setting it for a hearing, but we're not voting on the issue.
Yeah, there's a motion to approve it on first reading and set it for public hearing. But if you have direction, then we can take that back and we can modify, if the council wants to modify anything before second reading, we could do that.
And our earlier discussion, just so you're aware of it, is also took into account maybe some of these issues you want to put them on the next survey to see what the folks out there think, kind of deal. You're going to have
Put them on what?
The next survey when you get the new council coming in, because you've got redistricting coming at you in 4 or 5 years, and that's not going to be an easy task. So just to make sure it's on everybody's radar screen, we already did the survey on number 1, which was the issue dealing with, what was it? The
term limits.
The term limits. And number 3 is a housekeeping matter. We're not complying with what Colorado law is right now, taking in petitions and everything. So those 2 are pretty much, we should try to move those forward if we can. But the other one, some to think about.
So I guess I'm fine with number 3. I don't think there's going to be much objection there. Number 2, I personally like our elections being separate from what are some of the contentious national and even school board elections these days. That said, it's a question I'd be fine throwing to voters. I'd probably vote no on my own personal ballot, but it's a question I'd be fine throwing to voters. But I do also like Rick's suggestion of making it a survey question as well. This isn't a question we discussed in any of our previous issues. This pack is the first time I'm even seeing this concept of, are we trying to move to odd years? And $10,000 to $20,000, it sounds like a bit, but once every 2 years, it's not a big sum. And the value you get from that is our election gets to stand with a little more focus from the community. And I am fine with letting the community get to voice on how they feel about that. And I think a survey would be actually a really good way to do that. And then it could fall on the next council. And then regarding question 1, I'd actually be fine if it was just a 2-year break between terms. I think that would achieve the goal that most feel about that we're trying to hit with term limits. I don't think it has to be a full 4 years. That'd be something I'd throw out there.
So I actually like that idea about the 2-year because if the community wanted you to stay in that position and, you're eligible the next, election 2 years, I think that would be great. I also kind of like having separate elections. One is that if as a council member, you're trying to, let's say, campaign a little bit, I do feel like the community is more willing to listen when they're not having competing outside interests, from other election things going on. If we move to an odd year November election, as much as I like to think that everyone will vote for me again if I run, I don't think it's necessarily fair to me tell myself, oh, I'll just extend my term because other people might not be happy with me in my position and say, well, we voted for you for 4 years, like Aaron was saying. And so to me, I would want to tweak some of that piece if we end up going in that direction. Because I do think there's that expectation from the community of what they were voting for at that time. Plus, if somebody up here doesn't want to do more than their 4 years, that's putting a lot of pressure on them as well. So the other ones, I'm fine with that. Number 3 as well. And I like Brett's idea for that number 1 question for a 2-year break in between. So.
Okay, so Lori, I'm confused. Are we voting, or if we're voting, we're going to need to? The vote is on. Okay, so we can still change things around. It's just, okay.
One other comment that I'd like to make on the number 3, when we're talking about the turning of petitions and circulating. I think right now we still have this standard of 10 signatures to get on. Is that correct? And, that was probably fine 10 years ago when it was only 500 people. But now that we're at 7,500 and, by the next election, it will probably be more like 10 or more. It seems like that entry point should be more than just 10 signatures to be able to get on the ballot. It seems like you should have to have more than that. I don't know what other municipalities are doing out there, but it seems like as the amount of electors grow, that the amount of signatures you should have to be able to get on the ballot should grow in some proportionate level with that.
Melissa?
If I may speak, I'm Carolyn, you may know this better than I, but I believe that the 10 comes in for towns and the higher number is for cities. Is that? Okay. Okay, so when we district, it would go up to 25 signatures.
Which set
But-
by state statute, is that it?
So does that not even require a charter amendment to that specific item?
Yeah.
That would require a charter amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
It just seems like maybe if we're already going to put on a charter amendment, sort of dealing with the circulating of petitions, it might be interesting to at least talk about that. 10 just seems low and 25 seems low.
Make you guys work for it a little bit more.
I kind of like how it's a little bit low though, because I think it encourages more people to try to get involved who might not otherwise get involved. I don't know. And it's a relatively short time, if I remember correctly, of when they're available. I always go on vacation in January, and that's when they were always due. And I remember thinking, I'm going to miss this whole week. And so I felt like I had a very short amount of time, especially because it's in the middle of winter when going door to door is not my favorite thing to do in January. So
It is 20 days. Yeah, it's, but that is also state statute. So, but I'm sure that's something we could change too. But then as the state legislation changes, then our charter gets messed up.
I know Aaron and Rick's last election, there was a fair number of candidates, but I think in general, we don't exactly have a glut of candidates, at least yet. So, I mean, I agree with the sentiment in general, but I don't think we're at a point where we're getting every Tom, Dick, and Harry that.
Right. And maybe that's something that's addressed when you have to go to districting.
Yeah, maybe.
I just wanted it to throw it out there. It just seemed like 10 is pretty low.
All right, so give me direction, Lori.
Yeah, we need direction. You want us to tweak this, what you want to leave on and what you want us to take off.
Man, we got opinions all over the map here. So.
You want some, we could vote it down and have a workshop. We could.
Do what?
I think we can do that, Carolyn. Am I?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple of options. So it's on for first reading right now. You could approve the ordinance on first reading, and then on second reading, you could, approve it with an amendment to remove question number 2, and you could approve just question number 1 and question number 3, if that is the will of the council. Alternatively, you could approve it with a modification to question number 2, leaving it on, but changing it from modifying it to extended terms to say instead we're going to stair step it. And we can put something in the council packet to lay out those 2 options for you if you'd like. So we can say here are the 2 options of how we could get to a November election to let you consider that. Or if the will of the council right now is that, you know, two's a no-go, or there's something you want to take out, you could also, I believe, approve it on first reading with an amendment to remove question number 2 at this time. That could be the motion instead, or you could just move to approve it as is on first reading, and we can, you know, make any modifications when it comes up in January.
I would like to ask the other councilman and mayor, I have no problem with a 2-year gap in between. I don't think that's a big issue.
Okay.
So I would propose because we've already surveyed term limits, we put it on there with a 2-year gap. Because I don't know who else would be concerned about that, because that lets somebody walk away, and if they're fresh and they still have the urge to come back to kicking, let them do it. Kind of deal that we hold off on number 3 for sure. And our number 2, I'm sorry. You're right. Number 2, that's the proposal. It should go to the survey, and, you know, just amongst this group, you can see that there's going to be a lot of discussion on that one. I don't know how you address before April conforming with all those signature requirements and everything else. Maybe that's one that you wait till a year from now to try to do the conforming language if you need it, kind of thing. And
That would apply for next election.
Yeah.
Because we'd have to vote on this one in April. So.
Yeah, so just on this voting thing is just your term limit in the 2-year. And the other ones, you've got a different bite at the apple. Again, is a year from now if you want to. And we really need to do our homework, whether you're on the council or a citizen, because your election department, you might need the old police site for an election department at some point. There's a reason why Windsor and those others are going to try to move it to the county. They don't want the burden. And they don't want what's going to come with it. And 17,000, that might be the price now, but it's not going to be that if you have to have staff and full-time staff and that. So yeah, I just throw that out. So
yeah, Melissa, you need to make comment because you're the one that gets affected by this more than anybody here.
Election legislation changes annually. There are constantly changes in election legislation. Laws are changing on an annual basis. It is hard for one person to keep up with, and I would probably enjoy elections more if I had more help. And in order to do that, that's going to cost more money. But I also feel like the county has had the staff and has the knowledge, the resources to conduct our elections in a great way. You know, the way each community does it is they have their own ballot. So if something doesn't affect our community, it's not going to be on their ballot. It's only going to be the items that affect our community. So I hear what you guys are saying about, you know, us getting lost, but we're going to be on there whether, I mean, Loveland's items aren't going to be on Timnath's ballot. So I don't think that we would get lost. I do think it is, as we grow, and we grow so quickly, it is, the sooner we do this, the better. I just don't see how the town can handle going forward with our growth without having some hiccups in the election department.
I don't care how long we do this or not, but I do think Town of Severance did take this to their voters. It unanimously went across to move it to odd years. Windsor did it unanimously. I mean, not unanimously, with a landslide was voted on to move it to odd years. The reason that I was told by the mayor of Severance is for more people. We didn't have that many people. We only had 1,000 show up out of 4,000 voters. So it's 25% turnout. That's not anything to say, oh, gee, we shouldn't move it. And November is the same time, the odd year November is the time that the governor race is. So there'll be an interest to go out and vote, which should encourage more people in the town to sit there and vote. So how we sit there and structure terms, I don't care how it falls out. But what I do think is that we should be aware of the fact that we want as many voters as possible to vote at each election. And it's been pretty well proven that more people will go to an election that's either a national or a statewide election, which odd years and on one and for the governor and even years for the president is the other. So I would, and Melissa, I talked to Melissa a little bit about what the costs and stuff were. She's swamped. She can't handle. She'll do whatever we ask her to do, but she's going to be doing overtime plus, and she believes she needs another person. Well, that's $40,000 for us to have the desire to run our own election when we can easily hand it off to the county to run our election. So I think being that all the communities around us are moving to November, and they've had votes, and it was overwhelming to save the money. Why spend an extra 40,000 just so you have an April election rather than a November election? I think is something that we've got to consider real hard. Now, how we do the terms and that stuff, I don't, I'm going to let you guys talk about it. I don't care. I mean, I signed up for 4 years. If I end up at 5 1/4 because it works for the town, I'll do it. But if I signed up for 4, that's all I care about. So I think the key is, first off, do we want to sit there and do November? Then secondly, Carolyn, if you can give us alternatives on what that can be. I know this was your suggestion to do it pretty much this way that we've got here, but as you just identified, there's other choices, and maybe show the council those other choices. So we good with that?
Let me throw one other thing. So if you look at timing, you could easily put number 1 on the April ballot. You could hold till the November, and the rest of the county, their deadline. You could still get that on a county ballot, just for Timnath voters. Which would give you time to, survey, if you wanted to poll council in April, if you wanted to have a workshop or whatever, then it gives you time to.
I hear you. So can we do that?
Yes.
So we could do an even year November election.
Yeah. What the town would do is they would just call a special election just for that question. They would call for the same date as the county election, and they would refer that question, and it would be part of a coordinated election.
Would the county allow us to have both an April, which we're paying for anyway, and a November, which they would pay for? Would they? I would guess it is, but I want to ask the question: is would they allow us to do that?
Were you asking Melissa or
I'm asking Melissa, and she's trying to turn on her mic.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Sorry.
I think you were asking me, but I'm kind of in the.
Like Carolyn said, we would have to call a special election. So, yeah.
But all it is a special election, and then we could, well, we could, instead of doing a survey, we put it in there, should we, tadunk, and it's there. So let's see, let's go guidance. So one was term limits, and then it looked like the consensus was yes to term limits, but make it 2 years, correct? Okay. The third, which is correct certain things there, we agree with, except did we decide we can't add more than 10? I mean, have more, require more than 10 signatures on a candidate's nomination?
Number 3 was
I'm
election deadlines, I believe.
Pardon?
Number 3 was election deadlines. It wasn't related to numbers.
But Aaron wanted to add to that, since it was a cleanup provision. I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but since it was a cleanup provision, he suggested that he would like to, and I don't know if the rest of us want to, but first off, let's even see if it's something we should even discuss.
You could do that, yes.
We could make it higher.
Yes.
Okay, so he would like to add to 3 that there's more signatures required for a nomination to office.
I would think it would be a separate question. Would it not be a separate question from deadlines?
I think if we added in one question, if it fails, we don't get the changes. And if it passes, then we get all the changes. So that's kind of why we've broken it down to 3 questions to begin with.
So we could add a question if this council wants to do that. So does, I mean, you didn't like increasing it 10.
I feel like, and Brett kind of mentioned too, that it's not like we have 15 people running where we need something to kind of weed out, I guess. If we do put it in, I would suggest putting it as a separate question. I hate questions that ask 2 different things when I might agree with one and not the other, because then I'm going to say no on all of it. So if we do, that's all I would say, is that I would recommend that it be a separate question if we do that.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the charter puts how many signatures have to be collected. Does it? It's actually in the charter.
It's in the charter.
That's all right. I've got it. I've got it here somewhere.
I know, you probably do.
Okay, but what does it say?
Okay, it says
I didn't hear it. Did you read that it says 10?
It says 10, but once you get to 8,000 registered electors in the entire town, then it automatically goes to 25.
Yeah. Well, and Aaron, in our special election, you could easily then say, we want to push that thing forward and have 25 or 20. Or you could say 10% of the amount of the electorate that voted the election before, 15, or X number, whichever is higher. You could do any of those things.
You could. I would want to look at the state statute as to how it compares, but I just generally, as a home rule municipality, you have a lot of discretion. But remember what Lisa pointed out, that you have only 20 days to collect. So you can't start circulating more than 91 days before the election. It has to be turned in 71 days before the election. So you only have 20 days to collect those signatures.
Right. And the last time there was a change on the charter, I think that guy back there chaired it. kind of deal. So I would say this one is definitely one you sort of put on hold and figure out a process.
That's right.
So it can go
I'm
through.
fine with that.
Yeah.
I was just throwing it out there, so.
I agree. No, I agree. And that's why we're just having discussion.
Yeah.
And that's really not part of this setting if we decide to add it, right?
It's not a part, unless you add it, it is not part of this ordinance at all.
Okay. Are you okay with waiting until next time to
I'm-
add it?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Okay.
good with that. I just thought that it should be brought up. 10 just seemed very low to me, so.
Okay. So help me out, guys.
I hope to vote on the next council meeting, just number one, which is the one that deals with the term limits in 2 years. And then the other pieces come later.
No, we need a cleanup to help Melissa because she's only got 15 days. Well, we're not following our own charter.
Number 3, I think, is the one that you're
Has
referring
to
to,
go
which
'cause
is
it's a
the
mess.
Yeah,
the
unless you-
dates and.
Unless you're going to start adding things into it.
Well, we don't need to add it.
We don't need that.
Sorry, I was just throwing it out there. and
I got it.
I'm
I
not
think
trying to
it's-
muddy
I
the
think it's
waters.
got merit.
I think 1 and 3 probably should go. If you guys still have questions or need more feedback on
So
2,
do we
then
vote on this, Lori? What do we do?
Yeah, and that we amend it to remove question 2.
Okay.
So the motion will have to be made in that way. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no, but
She meant
remember, if
two.
1
She
and
meant
3
two.
both go, the change won't be made till after the next election anyway. Because to change with the conformity issues, you can't change them right now.
Right.
right, Carolyn.
The election resolution or the election ordinance that you had on the consent agenda, did say that we were going to follow the municipal election code. And the municipal election code has the earlier dates of the 71 and 91. So this is a cleanup year, right? It is a cleanup going forward, but by the separate ordinance, we said for this election, we're going to follow the code.
And it will work on the timetable. Okay.
I
All right,
suggest
so
all of that.
Lawyers help me out to just make sure I got this clear. And it's spinning off of what Rick's saying. Let me ask this question. Can we put this all off to a November election?
We can.
Because you're stuck with what the rules are now anyway, Melissa. And if it passes in November, then and we aren't going to have an
No, she just
election
said
then
she's
that
not.
next April, you're okay until the next April.
Correct. We'd be paying for 2 elections this year.
We would be paying for 2, one for in April and one for November. But I thought we got a free ride from the county. We do not.
No, not a free ride. We get a significantly smaller cost in coordinating.
I think past years, we've spent a couple thousand in odd years for,
Yeah.
I would assume it'd be something like
Oh,
that.
it's only a couple thousand?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, and she just answered the question.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
In 3 can go forward if it's passed in a resolution and if we're following the municipal code.
So right now the charter says that you can, that the elections will be conducted pursuant to the Colorado Municipal Election Code or the charter. And so we've made the election in the ordinance for calling the election, which you'll have a second reading next time, that for this April election, we're going to follow the deadlines in the Colorado Municipal Election Code. Now, if we are having an election already, it does not cost very much to add the 2 election questions on. If you delay all 3 until the November election, you certainly can, but the county will probably charge you per question. So if you know you want to go forward with 2 questions right now, and that 3rd question may or may not ever, you may decide you don't want to put it on November, you could go forward with the 2 questions right now.
Let's do it.
But you can also, yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So I think the motion I need, Rick,
Yeah, I
is
just,
You
that-
can't actually, you just have to have the consensus, don't you? Because the motion has to be next council.
No,
Are you going to amend it?
I thought you told me we need to pass this first reading to get to the next meeting. Is that incorrect?
No, yeah.
Yeah, no. So
Okay.
I need a motion and help me.
I want to bring up something first. Just
Go
to
ahead.
Just to remind us, we have set this up in a manner that it only goes to an election if we have a contested election. Right? So if only
Right.
one,
Correct.
yeah, I just want to remind everybody.
Right.
In case we think this is really going to happen, it might not. So
Right.
just keep us all on track, that's all.
Is that the only point you want to bring?
That was it, yeah.
So my understanding is Rick, when he makes his motion, will be to approve the
Number 1 for 2
ordinance
years.
number 3 with the exclusion of the second ballot issue and amending to 2 years the amount of time between vacation.
Between term limits.
Between holding office.
Different offices, yeah.
Right?
That's so moved. And see, that it's coming back to council at the next meeting, so.
So you second?
So you're clear? Okay.
Are
Are
you
we
good if we
okay
vote?
with what we're doing? Okay, it looks like I got first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, an ordinance referring, ordinance number 3, series 2022, an ordinance referring ballot questions to the electors regarding amendments to the town charter and setting forth other details related to as amended by motion. Passed unanimously.
But Mark, you didn't list them out. You didn't
No,
list out the.
You say with a public hearing on January the 11th.
Yes.
I said that, and everybody agreed that.
All
You
right.
just didn't hear me.
So wait, did we
So-
actually have a vote? I'm sorry.
We did, and we passed it
But,
unanimously.
yeah, it said for
I
a
just caught
public
you
hearing on
saying that,
January
so-
11th.
No, we voted. They all said aye.
With a public hearing in January.
All right. So I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Although,
Wait.
No.
You've got
oh,
other
because I got to
things.
do special meeting first, so I
Special
got to keep
meeting.
this open. All right.
Not
Yeah, we have
moved.
the other 2 meetings still.
Oh, God, that's right.
I'd make a motion to recess the regular meeting so we can go to special meetings before we go to executive session.
Great.
You move
Thank
for
you.
that? I will second that, Rick.
Good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Hey, Carolyn, thanks for all your help.
Go take a bathroom.
You guys can continue, but I'm taking a little break.
She's going to take a bathroom break.
All right, we're taking a 5-minute break, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, that would be okay.
Yeah.
No, we do executive.
No, we didn't.
session.
We didn't vote for that. No.
We went into
Yeah, we gotta do
recess.
this. I don't think we voted. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. See, that's
No.
why I thought we had to adjourn.
I don't think we can. Yes.
So
So now you can call us back.
Get those out.
Then a recess.
All right, are we good that way?
Yes.
All right. So Melissa, will you call us to order for the Timnath Development Authority?
Yes. Chairperson Mark Sukup,
Here.
co-chair Rick Collins, Commissioner Aaron Pearson,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Lake. Here. Commissioner Brett Hansen.
Here.
What's the deal? After 8, our brain shuts down, Melissa. All right. Don, consent agenda. Anything you want to bring up? Yeah, right. Resolution number TDA 01 Series 2021, a resolution of the Timnath Development.
You got to vote on the consent.
Pardon?
You got to vote on the consent.
Can we get a motion for
Oh,
consent?
Consent agenda. That's a good point. Okay. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, approving the consent agenda. Resolution number TDA 01 Series 2021, a resolution of the Timnath Development Authority summarizing expenditures and revenues and adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purposes as set forth for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022. Lisa.
Yes, this budget was presented to you in October, and the only changes were due to moving capital project expenses from 2021 into 2022, adjusting some of the certified assessed mill levies for the overlapping entities. And then I just want to point out that the current projections still show full utilization of all the 2018 loan proceeds in 2022. And that's all I have if you have any questions.
Any questions? Anybody? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve resolution number TDA 01 Series 2021?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number TDA 01 Series 2021, a resolution of the Timnath Development Authority summarizing expenditures and revenues and adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and the purposes as set forth for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022, passed unanimously. Could I have a motion to adjourn the Timnath Development Authority meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Melissa, would you do a roll call for the Timnath Landing General Improvement District Board?
Yes, sir. Chairperson Mark Sukup,
Here.
co-chair Rick Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Aaron Pearson,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Lake,
Here.
Commissioner Brett Hansen.
Here.
Do we have any public comments?
I would like to move the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda has been approved unanimously. Resolution number GID 02 Series 2021, a resolution approving the Whipley LLP engagement letter for audit services. You guys didn't know how to spell that. Say that.
Whip fly.
Go ahead, Lisa.
This is
We're
just.
getting punch drunk now.
Yeah. This is just a resolution approving Whitfleet to perform the 2021 audit for the Timnath Landing General Improvement District, and the cost of the audit is $6,700.
A motion to approve the resolution approving the Whitley LLP engagement letter for audit services.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number GID 02 Series 2021, a resolution approving the Whitley LLP engagement letter for audit services was approved unanimously. Resolution number GID 03 Series 2021, a resolution amending the budget for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2021 and ending on the last day of December 2021.
And
Lisa.
This resolution is to increase the budget in the capital improvement fund by $2,105,012 due to the increase in capital fund projects fund revenue related to the developer reimbursements for the third and fourth filings.
Okay, do we need to have a public hearing on this? It doesn't say so, but it doesn't make sense that the next one
Yeah.
would and this one doesn't.
I don't have the agenda in front of me.
So
So sorry.
there's, I assume no one signed up for a public hearing, right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Yeah, you're correct, Mayor.
Having no one signed up for a public hearing, I'll offer a motion to approve the resolution amending the budget for the district for the calendar year beginning of the first day of January 20th, 21 and the last day of December 2021.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number GID-03, Series 2021, a resolution amending the budget for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2021 and ending on the last day of December 2021. Passed unanimously. Resolution number GID-04, Series 2021, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to each fund in the amounts and for the purposes set forth herein for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022. Lisa.
All right, this is a budget adopting the 2022 expenditures of up to $50,000 in the general fund for administrative expenses per the IGA with the town of Timnath. And that's all.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number GID 04 Series 2021, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to each fund in the amounts and for the purposes set forth herein for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, before we vote, did I ask for a public hearing?
Oh.
And we don't have anybody, right? Okay, good deal.
Do I have to say that again?
No.
Good.
Please don't. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution, I do. Resolution number GID-4 Series 2021, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to each fund in the amounts and for the purposes set forth herein for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the last day of December 2022. Passed unanimously. Do I, any comments on this anymore? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor of motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks. So we're going to be going into special. I don't know. I hate to have him stay here, but does it help in case we have questions to have Grant here to call into the special meeting if we need some questions answered?
He can be in or out at your choice, so.
Well, I'm asking, is it something you think that would be helpful having him in on the bench?
I think that is, how about you, Don?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you mind, Grant? Thanks so much. Appreciate your kindness and waiting and stuff. It's a long meeting, so you win. You win. We need to give you a badge. All right. Now, give
Do
me
your most
parliamentary
now.
procedures here.
Now we need to do, you announce the need for an executive session and you read the executive session blurb.
So do I do anything to get us out of recess?
Well, we're out.
Okay, so I call the council into regular session. I now ask, let's see, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have
Yeah,
to say.
I can do that for you.
Yeah, please.
We've been asked earlier by Mayor and the council to call an executive session for the purposes of discussion concerning the purpose, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property interests under section 24(6), 402A CRS. Discussion regarding positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations and development of a strategy for negotiations under 24(6), 402(4E CRS, and conferences with the town's attorney for purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under section 24(6), 402(4B CRS, all of which will be regarding the Ladera development project. So now we need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Hey, we may not want Grant in the first part of this. Now, I thought you had to say something here, or you don't?
I didn't give legal advice tonight, so I don't have.
Good.
Motion
What
to
about
adjourn
us?
regular
Don't we
session.
have to say something on what? Oh,
Nope.
You back, we back on?
She didn't
all
provide
right.
legal advice.
All those, let's see. First off, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.